so to speak, and now we're able to move on to the last one. And what I am hoping is the most highly contested one: Rising Moon and Crème Fresh. This is one that's going to be once again a battle of European teams. And obviously, Team Olive versus Spanish Army, something that was incredibly fun to watch. Still relatively close between two teams that have certainly played each other plenty of times in the past, and that's certainly the case here with Rising Moon and Crème Fresh. What is the story on these two teams?
Well, Crème Fresh going down only to EXT. We said that they gave them the best shot, and that was absolutely the truth. Rising Moon, I'm going to be honest, I had a little bit of trouble finding footage on Rising Moon. I do know that they came out 7-0 over the group that had Skilling, Hanron, and Fool's World. So that demonstrates a level of, I guess, consistency in what might have been an inconsistent group. But Rising Moon has the pedigree. They were the team representing Europe at that E3 Invitational that we all saw. Didn't come out on top of that, but they've shown that they can play this game. They've shown they can play it at a high level. One of those top European teams, going to go with Sabao, Andy, Binks, and I would imagine Erza. Hasn't loaded into the lobby, but if it's not Erza, I don't know who it's going to be. But both of these teams, top European teams who've gotten big wins on the biggest stage and are certainly familiar with one another.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the cool things to see is how this kind of history can link up with each other, like how history can kind of transgress to the narrative that we're going to see play out here. These two teams have certainly fought time and time again before, but I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that Rising Moon came out on top as in the European scene as one of the, if not the European team to beat after a while. But you know, in ESL. In the ESL league that took place in Europe, it was constant. There was constant contention over who was best in one competition, who was best in the other. Rising Moon being the most consistent across that entire league, but there's so much to be said about the strength of these teams on any given day. And so for Rising Moon and Crème Fresh, definitely expecting a 3-1, 3-2, something like that. Definitely not a 3-0 sweep.
No.
We'll be able to see what comes out of that. But for now, I mean, we have the rest of the tournament to kind of play out. Keep in mind, we will be going through all of winners first before going into losers round. We will be able to go from here. Winners round 1, game 4, set 4, I should say. And moving on to the winners semis that is taking place. That'll be Deadbeat. We'll be able to see them once again play. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe that should be not. Oh wait, no. I was gonna say
Extermination.
Tomo. Yeah, okay.
No,
I was gonna say Tomo, but I was like, wait, no, they've played. But yeah, Extermination. Two sides that we have seen play before in Fall of the Squids. So kind of neat to see it. We'll be able to see if that is an exciting one, as I'm sure it will be.
And I actually do have an update looking at the bracket now. On that loser side, Fool's World taking the 3-0 over Tomo. So there you go right there. Tomo making their departure at 7th place, tied for 7th place, between whoever loses between Spanish Army and the loser of this set. But Fool's World, after what was, we talked about maybe getting some momentum after that very close last game against Extermination. They certainly carried something into that Tomo set. A 3-0, there's no such thing as a close 3-0, even if all the games were close. So congratulations to Fool's World, moving on to the next round. And it looks like we have right now, so we do have the big four for Rising Moon: Sabo, Andy, Binks, Erza. And then we have Brian, Hero, DeBoss, and I think I saw Flair come in earlier and then go. Crème Fresh is one of those teams that has enough players to play around, and they're one of the only teams I think that have moved between the two, or moved between, 2 or 3 different lineups. They, of course, have Brian, DeBoss, Flair, Kiver, and then they also have Lean. I don't think Lean played in any games earlier on. That, of course, by no means mean that Lean will not be making an appearance. But they are a team that is stacked top to bottom from big names, again, with big tournament victories. So it'll be interesting to see not only the weapon comps, but the player comps, too. And that's something that I don't think we've really seen. We saw it a little bit in Tomo versus Deadbeat moving in Savage, but that's not something that we've really seen over the course of this tournament.
It really hasn't been. I'm hoping to see that a little bit more at least in the future, if anything. But hopefully, at least the only thing I'm really hoping for is I'm a big fan of Crème Fresh. At least, I'm not one to say commentators should be biased by any means, but if I'm going to be able to have and select one thing, it would be kind of for Crème Fresh to move on. But I'm really curious to see if Crème Fresh will be able to rise to the challenge. Because obviously, Rising Moon being one of the first European teams to get their hands on Splatoon 2 with their victories that they had in LAN settings, and having the experience that they've had with being able to have the game for a good bit and being together for so long, just about as long as Crème Fresh has been. They certainly, these are two teams that have been on equal footing for quite a while, and the only thing that's really going to hold them back is how they individually play. But hopefully Crème Fresh will get one out for me.
Yeah, this would be this is the one that we talked about earlier, being one of the most closely contested. The top seed has won the past 3 matches, all the 1 seeds moving in very, very cleanly to the next round. So we'll see now if this is the upset that we're looking for. But I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about Splatoon 2 as a whole right now. What you're seeing in terms of the meta, partially because we haven't talked about it, and partially because the lobby just died. So go ahead, give me your impressions of what we've seen so far from the tournament and what we've seen so far from just the meta and what top players are talking about.
Well, I'm really glad that we've seen players kind of stray away from what the nightmare we thought was to become 4 Ingarmers per team. We saw teams able to react to, and slowly but surely being able to react to plays involving Ingarmer, and it's so much as simple as having the communication, the open communication with your team to say, okay guys, let's back off. And that, for the most part, solves it. If you're able to respond to your whatever individual situation you are in properly, for the most part, teams have been able to do that. So I'm really glad to see that, the meta wouldn't become as so one-dimensional as we might have thought. And thankfully, the game is a little bit more fleshed out than that. But definitely, with the sloshers being as insanely great as they are, whether it be with the range of the vanilla or the kit of the tri-slosher, it's something to be said that we're obviously going to have a tri-slosher on most team comps or something with Ingarmer, and we're already seeing kind of staples, mainstays in compositions, which is kind of cool to see how teams can build off of that. Obviously, there's not too many weapons to pick up on right now. There's obviously only 8 maps to work with, so you're not going to be changing around too much based on whatever game type you're on. But that being said, we've seen the main staples come out. I'm really excited to see where Inkjets will go, because I think, Inkjets, they have definitely a skill ceiling to be reached with them.
Oh yeah.
Not only in how you operate them when it's been activated, but in how you position yourself, and with the rest of how Splatoon operates, and how prioritized positioning is. And being able to position yourself in a way that teams won't be able to see you initially for the first couple seconds that you pop that, getting a good vantage point with that, you can turn games around instantly. And that's something that's not so easy to call out as simple as Ingarmer, because everybody is going to have Ingarmer on a team, whereas Inkjet is like, oh, one player has Ingarmer. I'm not exactly sure where they are. I can call them out, but that takes a couple seconds. We don't even have callouts yet exactly for Splatoon 2, so it's even harder in that respect. And yeah, Inkjet, I'm really looking forward to see if teams can more so pick up on those specials and see how well teams are able to pick up on, especially the newer specials of this game and where they can go. So far, the Inkjet is the one I'm looking out for.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to note just the roles that all these different specials do play. We talked about the Tenta missiles earlier in that set with Team Olive, forcing Spanish Army to get out of the zone. Tenta missiles by themselves may not get you the 2 or 3 kills that Inkjet can, but it is worth noting that they can really mess things up. They first of all, you get to see where all of the opponent is, right? That's big. That's, quick pop out, call out, then move. But it can also force people out of sharking positions, and it can really mess things up. So I think Tenta missiles are probably the one I'm looking at most, not because I think it's the best, but because I think it's something that it plays a role that specials really have. And of course, Echo Locator did, but it really is a unique special that I'm very glad they added it, and I really enjoy watching it used skillfully. But it looks like our lobby is finally back up, and one thing that we haven't really talked about at all is the game is so new. Sabo is level 8, there aren't a lot of weapons that you get at level 8. Now, I'm assuming that Sabo is probably comfortable with whatever weapon we will be seeing. Of course, both of the splatter shots available well before level 8. So I think they'll probably be fine. It looks like the Splattershot Junior coming out, but that is something that's, I don't know, it kind of made me chuckle as I was going through it.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, he's definitely comfortable with whatever he has to be at this point. Hopefully, whatever weapon kits he has is flexible enough for him to be able to use. That being said, we do have the sniper duel coming out with. If you're getting a matchup between Brian and Andy, there's no way you're not going to see that. So far, one pick being taken out from the behalf of Rising Moon here, but we'll have to see how they can play as they push the front lines even further. Still a little bit of dancing and dodging here. There's going to pop his inkjet to the right side. Hopefully Crème Fraîche calls us out, and they do, but not before Akiro comes out, and looks like the rest of Crème Fraîche will back off in time from their positions. Ryan now in a great spot to be able to get rid of the returning Ezra there from their special, but Tower will be able to be pushed in the meantime as they lose a little bit of their footing for now, which is a job well done on Rising Moon's behalf to start, but unfortunately not able to convert on much beyond that.
Not a big push coming out there. Both sides did a pretty great job of, not giving up too much in that neutral, but great defense there. Great defense there on the part of, I believe it was Crème Fraîche. And we see, I'm glad that you talked about the sniper duels, because we talked earlier about how, this map and mode isn't something that we see it on, but this, I hope this tournament shows people Chargers can still get it done. There's no reason to completely abandon the weapon class. Maybe it's not going to be the only thing that you're going to have as those Tenta missiles unfortunately take out Binks. But it is something that's still seeable. But now the story has been, we've seen 2 sets now, this mini Splatling here. And oh wow, I believe that's the inkjet on the part of Kiver, and now the snipe has been lost. Let's see what happens.
Hero, how are you alive right now? Able to get to the cyberspace before actually getting taken down in the face as well by Andy, who I don't even know if he was able to see the opponent coming there. Either way, the tower is still pushing to a position that I'm not sure Andy is aware of, but able to get the snipe onto the tower at the 37-point marker. Andy doing a job well done on his team's behalf to at least keep things in check towards that marker. But that being said, Crème Fraîche able to get in the push they kind of needed to catapult themselves in a great position here in this game 1. Brian facing some heat right now. Kiver, as a lot of burst bombs are being sloshed on over across the wall. Sniper has an eye on him as well as Ezra gets the splat onto him. 10 missiles coming out towards a lot of yellow ink, but in the meantime, able to get a splat onto Ryan before taking a 2-on-1 on this top left corner here. And this tower is pushing to something that might be somewhat scary for Crème Fraîche. They're unfortunately not able to get the kill just yet. The boss finally able to go down there to Ezra, but Crème Fraîche still kind of struggling to get into this tower as it's pushing past. They've established the lead so far. Rising Moon doesn't seem to be stopping either. I don't see a lot of purple ink here. That's another Crème Fraîche member going down with 10 points left to go. And maybe able to get something. The boss is the only one alive. It is able to get one, but unfortunately not the other. But it does stop the tower push for now. I think they might be able to recover in time unless... No, that's going to be it. Oh, just in time too.
A buzzer beater, but the thing that I want to talk about there is they got Erza that time up onto Overlook. The one thing that Crème Fraîche had done such a great job of was not letting people up onto their snipe. They had done I think they'd done a great job of protecting those 2 weak spots, that snipe wall and that Overlook wall. And as we see, Sabao not even ranked. That was really where things started to fall apart for them, able to get that inkjet up. And the catalyst for Crème Fraîche's push, actually, was Kiver's inkjet on snipe. So both sides really relying on that inkjet to get those big kills, put that pressure on that they needed. And then at that point, the rest of Rising Moon did a great job of kind of filling in the gaps and making that push happen. And hanging onto the tower there all the way to till death do us part. And a big win there for Rising Moon after it looked like Crème Fraîche was going to be the team that had the advantage.
Yeah, and it's good to see that, we got that kind of offensive from Crème Fraîche, of course. But that's something that, they're able... This is not a team that's going to be steamrolled like the first 2 sets. Obviously, we were saying it before. But the element that Crème Fraîche was most keenly missing in that game in particular was the ability to at least respond in some formative way after getting that lead. And so, yeah, Rising Moon... We're going to take it to Rainmaker now, which is like, I don't really think it's argued that it's a bit more volatile of a mode, and certainly going to change if any compositions are to change right now, it would probably be on something like Muscle Forge on Rainmaker. But yeah, I think Crème Fresh, great start on their behalf. I kind of want to see more consistency from the Crème Fresh front line, especially because obviously, snipers as good as they can be, you can be, the world's best sniper for all I care. But there's only so much you can do with if let's say you're in solo queue and you're trying to rise up through the ranks. If you're gonna get solo queue teammates that aren't gonna be as great as you might be, then you're gonna fall down a lot more easily than if you were a 10 attack or something equivalent. So Crème Fresh obviously has the front line to do that, and they proved as much within their push. But let's see if they're able to do that on a more consistent note.
Again, a double bucket comp coming out here. I think that's the third or fourth time that we have seen it. And we see the Mini, I'm going to do that a few times, coming out again for Hero. And now we're finally starting to see, I guess, maybe some consistency in between it. Like I said, we're seeing the Mini a little bit. We're seeing the double bucket comp a lot. And this might just be what we need to watch out for in the later stages of the bracket. Is Kiver going on the right side, almost off by himself, and I believe picking up a double or close to it. Now Brian getting a good kill with the slosher. Going to get a chance for a flank here. Does get one. The push is going to stop short here, but 40 right off the get-go within 30 seconds. Going to come back here. They have ink armor, so not a bad opening game
at all.
Here. No, this is great.
Yeah, and really curious about that Rainmaker push that seemingly came out of nowhere. Brian doing a good job to actually flank behind Rising Moon, catch their attention after their attention had been completely on the objective that's kind of snuck up on it and out of nowhere. And Brian doing a good job transitioning from the sniper rather quickly this Tri-Slosher, which job well done on his part. Now team Rising Moon will be able to push a good bit. Nicely done getting two for now, and it's going to be able to enable this Rainmaker push as the rest of Rising Moon is already starting this push, getting the lead and maybe even the win if they're able to execute properly. But unfortunately, the Rainmaker is going to push just like that super quick. I think there was definitely room for that Rainmaker to kind of wait and let their teammate kind of guide the way for them. But I guess, I don't know, maybe their call was, maybe their spawn time is not going to pop up right now. Either way, they dropped the Rainmaker at the 12-point mark. That's something that they definitely shouldn't be ashamed of.
Right, they got two very, very timely splats there. They knew that they only had a little bit longer before 2 or 3 members came back, so I don't blame them going for that 12, but this is the same story that we saw last game, right? It was Crème Fresh with that strong opening and then kind of losing it after that. They weren't able to get knocked out as we see Star Fox 64 being played here in the center. But this is kind of the thing that we've seen a lot, the control that comes from 2 buckets, making it very, very difficult for this Rainmaker to push. Poor Flair stuck off, gonna go back, let Kiver try to go in there on the right side, but
with only 15 seconds.
I don't know. Kiver not gonna be able to find anything on the right. Gonna try to shoot one down here, get a little bit of cheese, and not doing. Very, very well played there by Airs or the rest of Rising Moon.
I've always been really curious as to, what is the most optimal thing to do in an inkjet 1v1, right? And I'm pretty sure on that list isn't to fire at each other. I'm pretty sure that doing that, the shots that are going straight is all gravity-defying shots that are going at a pace of 1 snail per minute is something that you probably shouldn't be aiming onto the inkjet for. But that being said, both sides so far have been able to use their inkjet to decent extent, to decent use. But so far the story isn't really about the inkjet. It's been about the the tug of war that's seemingly happening in the middle right now, with the use of splat bombs, being able to arch shots into enemy ink and being able to win these individual fights, but not able to come out with so much as a team front. That's really been the narrative of this game, and thankfully Crème Fresh being able to let their teammates go in front of them, at least smart enough to recognize that jumping in with this much chaos going around isn't probably the most optimal thing to do. But unfortunately, as soon as I say that, they're going to lose their fights nilly-willy, and fortunately enough, they have a Rapid Blaster, I believe, to maybe get onto this Rainmaker, but not quite, actually. It looks like he wasn't able to get them just in time. This Rainmaker push might be something good.
Yeah, and watch Erza here on the left side, in great position for a flank, and it looks like going to get a hold of that. Oh, he's got the ink rails, going to get the kill here on Flare. Probably Erza in a very commanding position, but it looks like Rising Moon did a great job of holding off just long enough to get that Rainmaker down so that this flank, well, being a pretty decent harassment, isn't going to net them anything. But now if you're Crème Fresh, we talked about earlier that razor thin margin. That's kind of what's applied right now. Hero by themselves right here in the middle going to have to come back here. And, you know, they do reset the Rainmaker here. They've got to get this pop pretty quick, but it looks like Binks is going to get behind. Neither one of them going down. Another trade down there in the trench. And there's so much yellow ink here. These buckets. Okay, Kiver doing a great job on the right, getting a kill. But now it's 2 down. They're going to get a chance to grab it, and they're going to have to do so pretty quick here because that reset is in effect. And now it's they have 3. Oh, but the Rainmaker of all things going down. What do they need to do? What do they need to do here?
Well, for now, I mean, obviously it's tough to say, but it's been a real kind of, like I said before, tug of war, and so far they just need to come out with a full affirmative win on this next team fight. That's sure to happen. Hero as a frontline member needs to be able to do something better, but no, unfortunately, caught them by surprise with the amount of purple ink that was established around there, especially with the Rainmaker pop. Rightfully so. I mean, you would expect that a Rainmaker pop would get that. Would get Rising Moon on that pedestal, but unfortunately the blast, the radius of that, probably being blocked off by the bottom of that pedestal, and fortunately enough for Rising Moon, that's going to directly convert into a game win for them. Being able to stop any overtime last second push with Crème Fresh, I mean, the caliber of their play, they totally could have done.
And it seems like, again, the narrative in both games, Crème Fresh gets that big opening, Rising Moon gets the counter hit, Rising Moon's counter hit's a little stronger, and then it's just even. I mean, how many times did we say there? 1 down, 2 down, 2 in the middle, now the third one back in the middle, and it just seems like there were trades left and right, but neither side was really able to create an opening outside of their one big opening. So if you're Crème Fresh, I don't know what it is that you got to do. Do you need to make your one opening a little bit bigger? I mean, of course, you'd like more pressure and more team wins, but it just seems like Rising Moon isn't really giving them to him. And on Humpback, Pump Track, Splat Zones, this has been one that has gone pretty convincingly in all the matches that we've seen. So I don't really know what it is Crème Fresh needs to do. It seems like they're doing a lot of things right. They're just not in the right positions. We did see a couple times there, 1 or 2 going out a little bit too far and getting stuck and, you know, cracked down on by Rising Moon. But that's more of Rising Moon than it is. That's more on Rising Moon playing well than Crème Fresh making bad decisions. So it's, I don't know. This is one of those sets where, you know, it's that quiet consistency that seems to be winning.
Indeed, and unfortunately for Crème Fresh, it's very subtle things, almost really difficult for things for a team to pick up on, because we've reached that level of play where it's like, yeah, like we're pretty similar in how we play individually. Now it's literally just comes down to the smallest of details that separate the team, that wins an individual fight, that converts to ink control, that converts to overall macro control of the map, and that's tough to pick up on. There's nuances to that, and so for Crème Fresh with the tri-slosher, the double tri-slosher comp we see here, they're gonna be looking for a response, and that certainly, at least in some form, is one.
Yep, and
Julie's I missed this completely. Julie's on the other side of Rising Moon.
Oh, this is the first instance of dualies that we've seen here. Oh wow, and this is going to be Erza using it, and wow, dualies, and it's the Enberry dualies, if I'm not mistaken here, with the Inkjet that we've talked about this whole time. Inkjet is a chaos maker on this map for the boss. It seems like every time it's the boss getting hit, and yeah, they are forced, kind of almost herded to that middle spot and taken out one by one by one. Now they're going to be able to set up their sharks and, I don't know, stack as many tri-sloshers as you want. This is a very difficult position.
Defying push here from Rising Moon, and I'd love to note that Urza's use of Inkjet, especially in the position he used it in, fantastic. Being able to use it where, okay, he's taken down to the left side, maybe Crème Fresh able to recover here in the meantime, but being able to use it in a position where, you know, he's able to rise to a point of elevation that people aren't normally able to get to easily. Using that Inkjet to be able to do that so quickly and take you know, a lot of notice from the other side, a lot of attention away is a feat in itself. And being able to get the splat onto the boss there was able to open up the floodgates for just a bit. But in the meantime, Crème Fresh has been able to get that control of zone, and it's looking pretty devastating right now.
Kiver, unfortunately, trying to go there for a little bit of a spawn camp and not getting much. Erza gonna have that Inkjet again alongside the Suction Bomb launcher. If this doesn't take the zone, I will be very surprised. And once again, it's the boss in the front. And again, just stacking these specials, it seems like the Inkjet has been the catalyst for so much of what they've been doing throughout this entire set.
Now, Rising Moon able to get control of zone in age. I mean, the timer was ticking, but not too close. It seems like we do have something of an even game if Crème is able to recover, but Brian taking a shot to the face with that blaster there, but fortunately enough, not too much to the face. And in the meantime, while Rising Moon was kind of sitting pretty in their positions, Crème said, screw looking pretty, we're pushing up all four through the same narrow channel. Fortunately enough, that wasn't called out by a single weapon. They weren't able to pick that up in time, and they weren't able to get a penalty, but the Inkjet coming in, as you say, Urza doing such a good job there, at least able to help his team get 2 down and help his team, you know, obviously keep control of this zone, stay in the lead.
It's not if, it's when. When is that Inkjet going to come knocking onto your doors? We see a little bit of phased walking there from Urza, defying gravity. Nice little roll here. Some dually play versus the T-Tech. And whoa,
okay. Honestly, he might have made the bad move there, and honestly, an instinctive move to roll there in a situation where he might have not even needed to. He had 3 hit markers onto Kiver, or at least 2, and if he just kept his strafe in the position that it was, and he might have been able to come out on top, but because of that, and maybe a lot more, admittedly, Crème able to get control of his own, and wind on the penalty, maybe take control of the game, but a lot of, where did that come from? So many bombs coming onto zone, they got control back immediately.
And incredible play there by Sabao. Sabao able to get the kill on the Inkjet with a splatter shot junior. That's not a weapon that has a lot of range. Doing a great job getting the kill. Doing just enough to stall it and gonna give Ink Armor to the team. Wow,
nice!
One with the bomb too. Sabao playing incredibly in this zone. This is such a...
How are you playing in this zone with 0 yellow ink around you, still able to stay alive in the sea of Crème? Able to get at least 1 kill in the meantime.
Wow.
Does go down eventually, but in the time that he distracted 2 members from Crème, enables his team to come out on top, and that surely has to be such a good sign for Rising Moon to stay out on top here.
That was incredible play. You talk about darn near perfect play there in the zone. Like you said, no yellow ink, absolutely no resources, making something out of nothing, doing just enough to give his team that ink armor back in the middle. And now if you're Crème, you got to be scratching your head saying, where did things go wrong? We have that Inkjet coming out now.
Nice.
Gonna take out Binks, and that's a big kill because that Rapid Blaster was shutting things down for them. That Inkjet unfortunately gonna run out before another kill comes out. They have enough ink in the middle. They're so close. They get control, but then they lose it, and they get it. All right, just enough to keep playing the game.
But still, 35 seconds is not too much. It's absolute mayhem here towards the side of it. Crème going down on the side. And that's going to be the Inkjet once again swaying the momentum of another team before another slosher coming down, and it's Crème getting control once again. They're going to have one heck of a penalty to wind down, though. The boss is at the front lines here, does spot out Urza to the left side, but they're going to have everyone spotted out at all times. This zone goes out like nothing.
We do see the suction bomb rush coming in, and they get it just from the single suction bomb rush. It looked like they had so much control. Now it's gone again.
Control doesn't matter. They just
no, it doesn't.
Unfortunate for Crème. They had everything going kind of their way. They had all the team members needed to have a fight on top of zones, but unfortunately they couldn't tear their eyes away from the zone for any second, and they kind of needed to do that. Both teams had an amplitude of bombs to kind of hurl at zone and be able to survive for quite a long while. So it really took a flank to kind of change up the momentum of what was happening towards the end there. Unfortunately, just didn't have the time to.
Sabao with the 8 ink armors. If I read that correctly, 8 ink armors.
Yikes.
Unreal. Sabao, that one. Oh my goodness. I hope somebody clipped that. I hope somebody clipped that entire sequence where Sabao was dancing with 3 members of Crème and created just enough of this opening for his team to get back in. That is one of those moments. You know, they say that you can have as many great moments in a game as you want, but you have to be able to make the moment count, and the moment will make itself apparent. I feel like that was the moment there that really swung momentum back into their favor, because that was a pretty strong grasp that Crème had on the zone at that point. But you know, the great players make great plays, and Sabao did an amazing job there. 3-0 Rising Moon. We were very wrong in our prediction, thinking that would go to Game 4 or even Game 5, but yeah.
I definitely think that's the set that 3-0 isn't an indicator of how the momentum of the Tides really went.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So obviously that's the case in point example of the score not being the dictator of what really went down. Either way, Crème Fraîche gave it a good fight towards the very end there. They're going to have obviously some things to work on, but certainly nothing to keep their head down for too long about, as we should certainly see Rising Moon playing against Team Olive coming up shortly, but not before our matchup between Deadbeat and Extermination.